Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day today. Today's going to be something a little bit different. So I'm going to be doing a book review for the first time. This book is Her Crown of Fire by Renee April. I'm going to be looking over onto the second monitor a lot because I just need to be able to see that I'm in screen properly. It isn't great. I've kind of had to fashion my webcam a little bit. It's not a very good webcam, as you can tell, but it'll do. So yes, I reviewed a book, Her Crown of Fire by Renee April. So Renee April is an author and fellow Twitch streamer. She streams a lot of strategy games. In particular, I've seen her stream Banished and Mount and Blade, both the first Mount and Blade and Bannerlord. She's quite a popular streamer. She's from Australia, I believe. And a while back she wrote a book, and then a little less while back she was asking whether people would like to review it. I am not a book reviewer. I am now a games reviewer. I am not a book reviewer, but this is going to be my first book review, and I might do the odd one here and there as well. We'll see what comes up, because I do want to branch out ever so slightly. So the book is a young adult novel. It follows a 17-year-old Rose Evermore, who, along with her best friend Tyson, they get transported to, well, from our world to a different one. Specifically, a medieval fantasy, more medieval than fantasy, world where magic exists and is indeed very much prized. So it's the seat of power is the academy. The academy trains mages. Those mages fulfill a variety of functions, and they basically are the glue that holds together the lands for the most part. And there are both mages which are born in world, and ones which are transported from ours. So once Rose has been transported to there, she gets bundled off to the academy. She learns to harness her magic because she's got a natural affinity with it, and eventually has to decide on her specialism. Now, I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything like that, so I'm not going to say which specialism. And her friend Tyson, unfortunately, doesn't have any possibility to use magic. He doesn't have any affinity, and he's marked for death because of it. If people are transported from our world and they're magic, great, they get sent off to the academy, or maybe not so great. If they don't have any magic skills, then it's even less great. It's very much not good for them, and they will probably be executed on the spot. So one of the overarching themes of the novel is Rose trying her best to get Tyson back to our time. Now, as well as being sent to the academy, or while she's at the academy, she'll have to learn many skills, anything from sword fighting up to rune smithing, up to all sorts. And it's kind of like a more dark version of Hogwarts, which it's been a long time since I last read a Harry Potter novel, but I have seen the films like 7 or 8 years ago, and those great halls full of pupils, and kind of reminds me of that in my head to a degree. But moving on, there are themes throughout the novel which are pretty tough. Depression, discrimination are two of them. There are consequences to the characters' actions. So in a lot of media, this is more prevalent in films especially, but I think it's probably a problem in books as well, where the protagonist has a lot of plot armor. And there is still an element of that. the protagonist, Rose, she is pretty much extremely good at anything she turns her hands to. But some of the actions she takes, there are definite consequences towards it, and I'm very impressed that they were worked into the story and they weren't just hand waved away. So death, for example, is something you can expect at least one point in the novel. Disabilities will be discussed as well, and just mental health is very much a subtext in some areas, particularly in regards to Tyson, and having to deal with his status in this new world and the peril that he gets put into. There are villains, as there are in most media. The villains are fairly interesting. I would say that one is certainly way more interesting than the other, however. I'm not going to go off too much because I don't want to... One of them is kind of a... it comes out of nowhere. Or maybe not comes out of nowhere. You meet them and then only realise they're a villain slightly later on. So again, I'm not going to be doing any spoilers, but the villains are pretty well written, and I do feel like they ended up being a good foil towards the protagonist and her friends. Speaking of her friends, whilst in this new world, she does make a small group of friends, and honestly, they're really enjoyable to read about the interactions between them. Amisha, especially, and her interactions with Tyson are adorable. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I guess I need to also focus on criticisms, however. There were a couple of things. One I kind of already said, which is it just feels like the protagonist was always great at everything she touched. But it's the protagonist of a novel, so I'm going to hand wave that away. Of course they're going to be good at stuff. I feel like it would be probably a bit of a failure in a novel to a degree if your protagonist was always bad at everything. It could be made to work, I'm sure, but I don't think I've ever read a book where, or maybe there's a film or two, I don't think I've ever read a book where that's the case. So next up is that the first few chapters did take a while to get into. I would say it probably took me 6 or 7 chapters to get fully engrossed in the book, and I did end up reading the book fully in one night, and then I've read bits and pieces again ever since, rereading it. On top of that, I did have some printing problems. This isn't so much a problem with this isn't the author's problem. This is the printing house, or whatever media was used in order to actually get the books made. There were problems with the spacing of letters and words, so it almost looked like they were different words from what were actually there. I was able to make out what they said in the. I'm making it sound worse than it actually is, but that was a problem at one stage in the novel. Finally, for me, the ending was a little bit weak. So I hate cliffhangers. So any book that has cliffhangers, I'm always going to be dubious about, and that's on me. That's not on the books. Especially if it's going to be more linked books afterwards, which I believe Renee's writing the second book, or has written the second book at this point, and that's going to be out at some point. I'm not fully up to date on that one, but there will be a second novel, and I'm very interested to see where it picks up. But cliffhangers always rub me the wrong way ever so slightly, but that's more of a me problem. I guess finally I would say that I just want to learn a bit more about the world and how it works. a little bit less focus on the main character at times, and more of a focus on the world around her would be nice. Again, though, personal preference. So if I had to give a score, I would probably give an 8 out of 10. Again, this is a personal score, so it is subjective, as media always is. But thank you, everyone. I will put a link to where you're able to buy the book. I'm UK based. I am assuming there's going to be UK based books available, and I'll try and put a UK based link in. I'll also put whatever else I can find in there. So if you do want to read the book, I very much recommend it. Probably be a good Christmas present for someone. With Christmas fast approaching, I always try to get my presents in a couple of months early, and I know many people do. Anyway, I'm just wattling on now. Thank you very much for watching and listening, everyone. I apologise again for the bad webcam. I apologise to Renee for taking a little bit longer than expected to get this video out as well. I've just had a lot going on the last couple of weeks. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and maybe I'll see you in another book review sometime.